please check out the National Center of Home Preservation Foods. This is something that is a very serious matter. If you're actually going to preserve your own food, you need to do it in a correct manner. Welcome everybody to the Jolly Roger. My name is Chef Brian, and today we are going to pressure can our chicken stock. I have two pressure canners that I want to discuss real quick and things you need to know about them. This one is my first pressure canner. I picked up at Walmart and I got it for around $80. It's probably close to around the same price now. It's a Presto. It's like the bottom market pressure canner. I never had issues with this at all. One thing that is different between this one and this one is I have a rubber seal on this one that will need to be replaced every once in a while. And these are easy to pick up. I can pick those up at an Ace Hardware. I have a canning section in that hardware store that carries these, and I have several. Another thing that you're going to want to have, and this comes with it, is a little shelf that you put your jars in on top of that, and it prevents it from being directly on bottom of your heat on your stovetop. And that will help preserve your jars, because if they have direct heat, then they can combust. If you pour hot liquid into a cold glass, that it can shatter. Same thing with Pyrex dishes or anything else that is glass, it can shatter that way. So be careful of that. This canner is great. I've used it for several years now. This is an elite canner. It's an All-American 921. My mother, she bought me this for, I believe, our graduation from culinary school. And I will show you that right now. We're gonna move this one off to the side because I'm gonna use this one tonight because I like it better, to be honest with you. It doesn't have a rubber seal, and it has a beveled edge on it, and we put oil, and I use grapeseed oil for this just because of the high smoke point, and I have it. It also has its own shelf that goes inside. And when we have our heat, our metal expands and it closes and seals our canister, which we're going to have our jars in. Another thing to note is you're going to need some tools to can with. Right here, I have a debubbler, and I use this when I can my beef stew, my pot roast. For tonight, we're not going to need this just because we're canning straight liquid. The other thing I have right here is a ball jar grabber, and it goes on top. The rubber silicone end goes to your jar. The plastic end goes to your hand, and that way you have a good connection with the jar. Each canner comes with a manual, and you need to read this manual. Pressure canning is not something that you should just jump out and do. You need to do research. And that research comes from our National Health Preservation. And I'll link that website below. I've printed out every recipe that I intend to do, and I put it into a file book. And that way I have it in a printed version and I don't have to keep referencing that website. But that is a good way to have, if you lose power or anything else happens, you have it written down, and that way you don't forget. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these aside. We're gonna pull our jars out, and I will talk and discuss about what we're gonna do next. All right, everyone. So what I have here is I have my jars. I put them in the oven to my lowest setting, which is 175 degrees. I let them sit in there for about 8 minutes to sterilize our jars. This is what you want to do. You can sterilize your jars in multiple ways. What I have here is a ball jar funnel, and it just makes it easier to ladle your ingredients in. So we have our stock, and all I'm doing is ladling our stock into our jar. And this jar's hot, but I want to mention that you're going to want to leave a 1-inch headspace on this, which 1 inch goes to this bottom ring. Let's get this going. Have our stock. And we want to remember to leave a 1-inch headspace. The reason we have a 1-inch headspace is because we're using quart jars. If you are using pint jars, that headspace may differ. It could be 1/2 inch, it could be 1/4 inch, depending on your recipe. Typically, it is a 1/4 inch for pint jars. And just ladling it in, and right there, we hit our 1-inch mark. Do the rest of the jars. Then I'm going to take a paper towel. I'm going to use distilled white vinegar, and I'm going to wipe the rim just to make sure we have a good seal. Now, when we go to seal our jars, we have two pieces. We have the lid and we have the ring. We have the lid, the jar. These are brand new. I do recycle my lids. It is not recommended, but the rubber seal on here is, it's good for me for 2, maybe 3 times. Now, back in the older days, your grandmother, they may have soaked their lids in simmering water just to loosen that tackiness. Nowadays, we don't have to do that, so I don't do it. But if you wanted to, it's not going to hurt. And as I just noticed, this lid is no good. There's a dimple on the rim, and I will definitely take a picture of this because I want to show you. These are brand new jars that I just pulled out of this package over here. Now, our next step is to clean the rim, and we're going to use vinegar for this. Typically, I use water, but you're supposed to use vinegar. Just the acid helps pull away anything that could be a barrier on top of the lid. You just wipe it off gently, and then you're done. Now, this is our lid. What we're going to do is we're going to tighten it just finger tight. You don't want to ratchet these things down. These are just finger tight. We're going to go ahead, and I have my canner. I filled it with 2 inches of water, and I put it on a low medium heat just to bring the temperature up to match our jars. That way we're not adding something cold into something hot. So we're going to pick these up, put them in. Now, like I said, if your jars are really hot, we're going to use our tool to pick them up. Place them down. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move the camera and bring you around to show you how we set this up. So we have quarts. We're going to go 25 minutes for 10 pounds. Now, I'm going to have my back turned, but I want to make sure that you see kind of the process to do this. I have my oil. We're going to line the rim of our canister with oil as I dip my finger in and I wipe the inside where that bevel is going to meet. But I dipped my finger in multiple times. We're going to go around the rim to make sure that every little bit has oil on it. It has been oiled. Now, we have an arrow that's pointed on this lid right here. It is going to match up with the arrow that is right here, and this is how you put your lid on your pressure canner. So we're going to match just left of the arrow, and then we're going to slide to where it actually matches. Everything is seated. It's a little too seated, so I'm going to back it out just a little bit. Now, this canner has opposite toggles. We're going to tighten it like we would a tire on a car. We're going to do opposite sides at one time. Again, we're going to do finger tight. You don't want to crank down on these. You want them finger tight. And I know I'm in the way on this one. I'll try to scoot over a little bit. Now, once we have this, we're going to center it on our burner. I'm going to go ahead and turn our heat to high. Now, this is going to take a while for it to build up pressure. And that pressure is going to start to exit steam out of our vent. Now, this vent needs to have the excess pressure come out of it for at least 10 minutes. Once we hit that 10-minute mark, we are going to put our weights, which this one has a 5, 15, and a 10. We're using this 10, and it has a slot right here. We're gonna put that on top after the 10 minutes. All right, everyone, we've finally gotten up to a venting. This is what we call venting. And I want you to hear how much pressure is coming out of here. You don't want to hold your hand directly over, but you can swipe it through. This is what we want. And we're gonna I have a timer set for 10 minutes on my microwave. And once this 10 minutes is over, that's when we're gonna put on our weight. My 10-minute timer went off. This is what you're looking for. You hear that hissing. It's very violent hissing. We got our weights. I have my number set to 10. We're gonna just put that on. Now we're gonna wait. And we're waiting for this to jiggle. And once it jiggles, I'm gonna turn my heat down. I have it on high right now. I'm gonna turn my dial down to 6, which is about a medium. And then once it starts to jiggle, that's when we start our 25-minute timer. All right, so now you can actually hear this jiggling. That's the sound you're gonna want. I'm gonna turn my dial down to 6, and it's gonna keep jiggling every 45 seconds, like I said, maybe 50, maybe a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my timer on my microwave to 25 minutes. We're gonna listen to this. All right, everybody. My timer just went off for the 25 minutes. All I'm doing is I'm gonna turn the heat off, and that's it. We're not gonna do anything else. We're waiting for this dial to come down to 0 before we even touch anything else, because this thing is full of heat. I have gloves. All right, everybody. My dial has come down to 0 pressure. So that means that we're safe to open it up. First, I'm going to pull off our weight. This is very, very hot. You're gonna wanna have oven mitts, and then we're gonna take off each end like you would a tire. So we're gonna do what's called a star pattern. Everything detached. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift the handle and I'm gonna pull it towards myself to keep the steam away. I'm gonna stand beside, lift it up. There's a lot of steam. You can also hear the pinging. We're gonna let these sit for 24 hours. And tomorrow I'm going to take the ring off and I'm gonna hold it up just by the lid, just to make sure that you can see that it is sealed. All right, everybody, it's the next day. All my lids, they got sealed. If you feel the top to center and there's a little bump, that means you have a bad seal. There's 2 ways you can handle this, is if you can do recanning all over again, or just simply put it in your refrigerator and this will be the first one you use. We're gonna take the ring off. We're gonna label and date. I store without the ring because it could give you a false seal, which means you need to periodically go in and check your seals on your jars. And if you do happen to find one with a loose seal, then you automatically throw it away. You don't even try eating it or drinking it. Just throw it away, wash your jar, sterilize your jar, and you'll be safe. So the way I check my seal is I just hold it by the lid, and we have complete suction. So we're good to go. I like to label and date, which you should label and date your food that you preserve. I write the month and I write the year. I use painter's tape for this because I don't like putting permanent marker on my lids. I reuse them as much as I can, which back in the day we didn't do that. I will leave a link below in the description of the National Center of Home Preservation. They have all the recipes, print them out, put them in a binder, that way you have them. If you have any comments, questions, please leave them below. I'd love to answer them or, talk with you. That'd be cool too. So anyway, that's it. That's the whole canning process of chicken stock. The same process goes with beef stock as well. Just remember, you want to make sure about your elevation because that's going to determine what weight you're going to put on your vent. And also your time, if you're using quarts or pints, because those are different times. So I'll see you next week. All right, take care.